She discovered the betrayal in a humiliating way, but a reunion helps her rise again. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. It was a night like any other when Emma sat down at the restaurant, nervously fidgeting with her napkin as she glanced around the room. The soft hum of conversation and the clinking of silverware filled the air. The warm, subdued lighting cast a glow on the glossy wooden tables, and for a moment, she tried to pretend she belonged in this world. She wasn't used to places like this. Her dress was secondhand, her shoes a bit scuffed from years of use, and her nerves were completely shot. Still, she had promised Jenny, her best friend, that she would go through with the blind date. "You're going to meet someone great," Jenny had insisted. Trust me, he's perfect for you. Emma didn't feel so sure, but she had no other choice. Jenny had practically forced her into it, promising her this was her chance for something more, something better. As she scanned the tables, she felt her heart race. "Table 7, she murmured to herself, glancing down at the phone in her hand, confirming the table number once again. Her eyes landed on a sharply dressed man sitting alone, his dark hair neatly styled and his focus fixed on his phone. That had to be him, she thought, taking a deep breath. She forced a smile and walked over, trying to calm her racing thoughts. "Hi, you must be Kevin? I'm Emma. Nice to meet you." Liam Parker looked up at her, startled. He blinked at her for a moment, clearly taken off guard. Hi Emma," he said, confusion flickering across his face. Emma, misreading the situation, took a seat across from him and started talking to fill the awkward silence. "Oh, I know this is weird, blind dates, right? Jenny told me you might be a little shy, so don't worry, I can talk. Enough for both of us." Liam opened his mouth, clearly about to correct her, but then hesitated. His business associate had just texted to cancel their meeting, and there was something about Emma's earnest smile that made him pause. She was nothing like the polished socialites or calculated networkers he was used to. She seemed genuine, refreshing even. He decided to play along, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Right. Blind dates are something else. Emma laughed nervously, taking a sip of water. Tell me about it. Jenny's been trying to set me up for months, but I've been too busy with work. You know, work. What do you do? Liam asked, genuinely curious now. "I'm a waitress," Emma admitted, fiddling with the edge of her napkin. Not exactly glamorous, but it pays the bills. Well, most of them anyway. She smiled weakly, trying to downplay her situation. Enough about me though. What do you do? Liam hesitated, a slight smile on his face. "Tech," he said, his voice low. Something like that. Tech. Emma's eyes widened. That's cool. Like, coding and apps and stuff? "I'm terrible with computers," she said, shaking her head with a chuckle. Liam smiled again, leaning back in his chair, studying her. There was something about her, something real, and that made her all the more intriguing. She wasn't impressed by his looks or his clothes. She didn't see him as someone who could help her climb the social ladder. She just seemed genuine. They talked for what felt like hours. Emma shared anecdotes about her shifts at the diner, her struggles with paying rent, and her dream of one day opening her own art studio. Liam listened, laughing more than he had in a long time. There was a warmth in her that he hadn't realized he was missing. Just as she was about to ask him more about his work, her phone buzzed. "Hey Emma, where are you?" "I'm at table 7, looking forward to meeting you. Kevin." Her stomach sank as she reread the message, the blood rushing to her face. She looked up at Liam, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're not Kevin, are you?" Liam's smile faltered, a flicker of guilt passing across his face. "No, I'm not," he said quietly. Emma's face turned bright red. "Oh my God," she muttered, standing up abruptly. "I'm so sorry. I sat at the wrong table. This is so embarrassing." Without waiting for a response, she grabbed her coat and bolted out of the restaurant. her heart pounding in her chest. Liam stood, watching her leave with a strange mix of regret and curiosity. He hadn't planned to let her walk out, but there was something about her that made him hesitate. He found himself wondering if he'd ever see her again. Why did the thought of never seeing her again bother him so much? Emma rushed out of the restaurant, her heart pounding in her chest. She could still feel the heat rising in her cheeks as she practically ran down the street, the sound of her footsteps echoing against the pavement. It was a humiliating mistake, sitting at the wrong table, embarrassing herself in front of someone she thought was Kevin, only to realize she had just made a fool of herself. She cursed under her breath, her mind racing. Why did I do that? Why didn't I just wait for the real Kevin? But as she stood outside, trying to collect herself, a strange feeling tugged at her, a feeling she couldn't quite place. Liam, the man she had just met, had seemed different. There was something about him that made her want to stay, to get to know him more. But no, she told herself. That was a mistake too. She needed to focus on herself, to move on from this embarrassing moment. The days that followed felt surreal for Emma. After that coffee date with Liam, she couldn't help but think about their conversation over and over again. She had expected awkward silences or uncomfortable moments, but instead, it felt like they had known each other for years. Liam had listened to her in a way no one ever had before. He didn't just nod along or make small talk. He truly cared about what she had to say. And for the first time in a long time, Emma realized that maybe she deserved someone who actually saw her, not just her job or her struggles. But despite all that, Emma wasn't sure if she was ready to let her guard down completely. She had spent so many years building walls around herself to protect her heart, and letting someone in was no easy task. Still, as the days went by, she found herself looking forward to their next meeting. He texted her every few days, asking how she was doing, how her art project was going, and if she wanted to grab coffee again sometime. And each time, Emma felt herself softening just a little more. It was small, but it was something. The night at the gala went by in a whirlwind. Emma couldn't believe how quickly it all happened. One minute she was standing nervously by Liam's side, and the next, she was swept up in a world of laughter, champagne, and elegant conversation. The grand ballroom sparkled with chandeliers hanging from the high ceiling, and the soft hum of classical music filled the air, providing a soundtrack to the crowd's light chatter. Liam seemed perfectly at ease in this environment, effortlessly navigating the sea of socialites and business moguls, his charisma lighting up the room. But Emma? She still felt out of place. She wasn't used to all of this, the polished smiles, the rich perfume, the elegant dresses. Her second-hand dress seemed so out of place in the midst of all the designer gowns, and for a moment, she felt that familiar feeling of insecurity creeping in. She clutched her champagne glass a little too tightly, her eyes darting around the room as she tried to calm her racing thoughts. But then she felt a hand gently touch her arm. She looked up to see Liam, his warm smile instantly putting her at ease. Are you okay? He asked, his voice soft but concerned. Emma smiled, grateful for his presence. Yeah, just a little overwhelmed, I guess. Liam's smile widened, and he nodded understandingly. I get it. I've been coming to events like this for years, but I always feel out of place too. I think we could use a break from the crowd. Without waiting for her to respond. He took her hand and led her away from the main event, guiding her through a quieter side door that led to a private balcony overlooking the city. The cool night air hit Emma's face as they stepped outside, and she took a deep breath, feeling the tension in her shoulders begin to melt away. Liam leaned against the railing, looking out at the city below, his hands tucked in his pockets. Emma joined him, standing next to him as they both gazed at the view. The lights of the city stretched out. Before them, a sea of twinkling stars below the dark sky. This is better, Emma said, her voice a little more relaxed now. Liam chuckled softly. I knew you'd like it out here. No pressure, no crowd. Just us. Emma glanced over at him, feeling a warmth spread through her. She was starting to realize how much she had come to appreciate his company. He wasn't just the charming millionaire CEO. He was kind, thoughtful, and didn't seem to care about the superficial things that most people cared about. He had made her feel like she was enough, just as she was. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the city lights flicker below. Emma didn't know what to say, But somehow, it didn't matter. The quiet was comforting. "I'm glad you asked me to come tonight," she finally said, breaking the silence. I wasn't sure at first. I didn't know if I belonged here, but I'm glad I came. Liam turned to face her, his expression softening. I'm glad you came too, Emma. There was a pause, and then he added, I know we've only known each other for a little while, but I feel like I can talk to you. It's been a long time since I've met someone who's so real. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure what exactly he meant by that, but the sincerity in his voice made her feel something stir inside her. "You know," Liam continued, I'm not just some rich guy. I know people look at me and think I've got everything figured out. But it's not true. It's not all perfect. I mean, this whole world, this lifestyle, it's not what it seems." Emma turned to look at him, her curiosity piqued. What do you mean? Liam hesitated for a moment, as if choosing his words carefully. I mean, I've built this empire, this life of luxury, but I'm still lonely. People only want to be around me because of what I have, not who I am. And sometimes it gets exhausting. I've been surrounded by people my whole life, but it feels like no one really sees me. Emma's heart went out to him. She couldn't even imagine what that must be like, to be so isolated despite having everything. She could relate to the loneliness, though. She had never been surrounded by wealth or luxury, but she had often felt alone in her struggles, like no one truly understood her. "I think I get it," she said quietly. It's like, the more people have, the harder it is to trust anyone. You start wondering if they like you for you, or if it's just because of what you can offer. Liam nodded, his eyes meeting hers. Exactly. But with you, Emma, I don't feel like I need to put on a show. You don't care about my money or my business. You see me for who I really am, and that's rare. Emma felt a rush of warmth fill her chest. It was strange, but in that moment, standing there with him on the balcony, she felt like she was finally being seen. Not as a waitress, not as someone struggling to make ends meet, but as Emma. Just Emma. And for the first time in a long time, she felt like that was enough. As they stood there in the quiet of the night, the city spread out before them. Emma realized that maybe this was the beginning of something unexpected, something worth exploring. Maybe, just maybe, Liam wasn't the only one who needed this kind of connection. The following weeks were a whirlwind for Emma. After that quiet night at the gala, things between her and Liam began to shift in ways she hadn't expected. They met for coffee a few more times, each encounter bringing them closer, each conversation peeling back more layers of the facade they both had put up. Liam had always been polite, distant even, but now he seemed to open up more, and Emma couldn't help but feel drawn to him. There was something genuine about him, something real that she hadn't found in anyone else. He made her feel like she wasn't just a waitress, like she was someone worth getting to know. And that feeling, for Emma, was new and exhilarating. As the weeks went by, Emma and Liam grew even closer. Their connection was undeniable, and with each passing day, Emma felt more and more at ease with him. They spent more time together, going for walks, grabbing coffee, and even visiting local art galleries. Liam never rushed her, never made her feel pressured. He simply enjoyed spending time with her, and for Emma, that was something she wasn't used to. Her past relationships had always been about expectations and disappointments, but with Liam, it felt different. He didn't want anything from her. He just wanted to be with her, to share quiet moments, and sometimes even to share their fears. Slowly, Emma began to let her guard down, though it wasn't easy. Her fears of rejection, of being judged, still lingered. But Liam had a way of showing her that he was in this for the long haul, not just as a passing interest. And that made all the difference. As the months passed, Emma found herself fully immersed in her new life. The gallery was thriving, gaining attention from both local artists and art enthusiasts. Her dream had turned into a reality, and every day felt like a new chapter in a story she had never thought possible. It was hard to believe that just a few months ago, she had been waiting tables, uncertain of her future. Now, she was the proud owner of her own gallery, and more importantly, she had someone by her side who supported her in ways she had never imagined. Liam had been there for every step of her journey, helping her set up the gallery, offering advice when she needed it, and cheering her on when things got tough. But even as things were going well in her professional life, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was off in her personal life. She and Liam were still as close as ever, their connection deeper than ever before. But there were moments, small moments, where Emma felt a sense of distance between them. It wasn't that Liam had changed. It was more that Emma started to realize just how different their worlds still were. Liam, the tech millionaire, had a lifestyle that was so far removed from hers. He had a network of people, a world of business dinners and high-profile events. And even though he included her in many of those aspects of his life, Emma sometimes felt like an outsider. She could tell that Liam had been under a lot of stress lately too. There had been times when he had seemed distracted, his mind clearly preoccupied with something he wasn't saying. She could feel it, that distance growing ever so slightly, and it left her wondering if the life they were building together was enough to bridge the gap between their worlds. As the days passed, Emma and Liam's relationship continued to grow stronger. The tension that had once lingered between them had melted away, replaced by a newfound sense of understanding and trust. Emma had always feared that her differences with Liam, the life she had led, the world she had come from, would eventually tear them apart. But now, she could see things differently. They had found a way to make their worlds collide in a way that felt natural, not forced. It wasn't always easy, but it was real, and that was all that mattered. Emma's gallery had become a symbol of her hard work and determination. But more than that, it had become a space where she could truly express herself, and she realized that it wasn't just her career that was growing. It was her heart. She had started to embrace the idea of love, of being vulnerable, and it had been one of the most liberating feelings of her life. But despite everything going well, there were moments when doubts crept in. They had been through so much together, but they had never truly discussed the future, what it meant for them to continue forward in this relationship. Emma had always been cautious, her heart guarded, afraid of what could go wrong. And as much as she loved Liam, she couldn't ignore the question that lingered in the back of her mind. What would happen when their lives grew more complicated? As the seasons changed, so did Emma's life. It had been a year since that fateful day she had sat at the wrong table in the cafe, the day she met Liam. Looking back, it seemed like a lifetime ago. So much had happened, and yet, so much still felt new. The gallery was thriving, but more than that, Emma had finally found a sense of peace within herself. She wasn't the same woman who had first walked into the cafe, uncertain of her future and afraid to let anyone in. Now, she was someone who embraced her dreams, her fears, and the love she had found. Her relationship with Liam had deepened, evolving into something that felt real and strong. They had worked through their doubts, their differences, and come out stronger on the other side. Emma no longer feared the unknown, because with Liam beside her, she knew she could face anything. But life, as it always does, had a way of throwing unexpected curveballs. One evening, Liam took Emma to a quiet dinner at their favorite restaurant. The atmosphere was intimate, the soft hum of conversation in the background, the flicker of candlelight casting a warm glow on their faces. As they sat down, Emma noticed the seriousness in Liam's expression. His usual easy smile was replaced with a thoughtful look, and she couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. Liam? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. What's going on? Liam set his glass down gently, his hands clasped together as he looked across the table at Emma. I've been thinking a lot lately, he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. About us, about everything we've been through together. And there's something I need to tell you. Emma's heart skipped a beat, and her mind raced. She hadn't been expecting this. Was something wrong? Had he changed his mind about their future? What is it? She asked, her voice thick with uncertainty. Liam reached across the table, taking her hand in his. His touch was warm and reassuring, grounding her in the moment. Emma, I love you, he said, his eyes filled with sincerity. I love you more than I ever thought possible, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Emma's breath caught in her throat as the weight of his words sank in. She had always known how much Liam meant to her, but hearing him say those words she had never truly believed she would hear, was overwhelming. Liam, she whispered, her voice trembling. I love you too. But what do you mean, the rest of your life? Liam smiled softly, his eyes never leaving hers. I'm asking you to marry me, Emma, he said, his voice steady. Asterisk, I want to build a future with you, one where we both get to chase our dreams together, side by side. Asterisk. Emma's heart raced, her mind swirling with a mix of emotions. She had never imagined this moment in her wildest dreams, and yet, here it was, unfolding before her. It wasn't the big proposal she had seen in the movies, but it was perfect in its simplicity. She looked down at their hands, their fingers intertwined, and for the first time in her life, she felt truly seen, truly loved. Yes, she said, the word tumbling out before she even had time to think. Asterisk, yes, Liam. I want to marry you. Asterisk. The relief in Liam's eyes was immediate, and he stood up, pulling her into a tight embrace. The restaurant around them seemed to fade away as they held each other, the moment suspended in time. Emma felt like she was floating, the reality of the life they were about to build together sinking in. The future, once uncertain and filled with fear, now felt full of possibility. As they sat back down, Liam reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. He opened it, revealing a simple yet elegant ring, and Emma's heart swelled. This is just the beginning, Emma, he said, slipping the ring onto her finger. Asterisk, we have a lifetime of memories to make, a lifetime of love to share. Asterisk. Emma smiled through her tears, the weight of the moment filling her chest with joy. She had come so far, from the uncertain waitress to the woman who now stood on the cusp of her greatest adventure. With Liam by her side, she knew anything was possible. Together, they would face the future with open hearts and unwavering commitment. And as they left the restaurant that evening, hand in hand, Emma couldn't help but think that everything had led her to this moment, to this love, and to a future she could finally embrace with all her heart. The best part was knowing she didn't have to face it alone.